So I just wanted to create a brief tutorial about CASHNet and some of the things that you can use it for. So in an email, I'll send you your operator ID and then a temporary password, which will need to be reset whenever you log in for the first time. Also, I'll send you a link that takes you to this specific page because you need to make sure that the station is always 000. And sometimes you'll have to type that in, but sometimes it'll be saved. But then that specific link that I give you will send you to this client code that's Xavier_prod. So you can't edit that field. So you have to make sure that you use the link provided in order to get to the Xavier site. So I'll go ahead and click log on. And then this is what the home page looks like. Mine's going to look a little different than yours because our permissions are going to be a little different, I think. But like I said, just want to show you a few things that can be helpful for you in CASHNet. So probably the first thing here, if we start with find transactions, that's really helpful. So you can search a couple different ways. One is by customer code. So typically the customer code is just the student ID number. Helpful for us, maybe not so much for you. Some other things that I've found really helpful to search by is the actual date or the business date, and then the dollar amount. And then we can also search by the payment code. Some of this other stuff isn't as helpful and doesn't populate as well, but those are the things that I would recommend searching by. Also, you can search by canceled or voided items and open items, so you can check and uncheck these items if you want. So for instance, whenever we had an issue with some of the stuff that was going from bank 26 to bank 40 and vice versa, we can search for those items like this. So I think one was in April. So what we can do is we can set a date range from April 1st through April. Let's try that again. Through the end of April here, through April 30th. So we've got our date range there. And we knew that something was off by, I think it was $1,000. So we can type in for the dollar amount. We can put in $1,000 here. And I think that's all the information that we knew at the time. So if we go ahead and click find, what this is going to do, it's going to populate everything that has $1,000 in the in the transaction. So like for instance, this one's for $1,027.50. But if we were to drill down a little further by clicking the transaction number here, we could see that's made up of two components. One, an installment plan payment for $1,000, and then a convenience fee of $27.50. And that's where our $1,027.50 comes from. If we scroll down a little more, we can see that that was a web credit card payment. And so that makes sense that they were probably paying $1,000 towards their balance, and then $27.50 was the convenience fee. So we can go back if we click find transactions. That will take us back to our last search. So it's kind of like hitting the back button. I think if you were to hit the back button though, it would error out and you'd have to refresh the page and you may have to enter your search data again. So anyways, well, what you've got here is you've got the transaction number, and that's produced by CASHNet. Oftentimes in Banner, that's captured as a document number. The customer code is the student ID, or if it's for a departmental deposit, it is the CASHNet nomenclature for that department. So athletic ticketing for that one, that's the only departmental deposit for this month that had $1,000 in it. The date is obviously the date that the transaction happened. And then the status closed means that like this transaction has been completed. The item code, so PMPP, that's the payment plan. If there's a number like this, that's the term code. So a person's paying directly for a charge within that term. They're not paying an installment on the payment plan. This here is the item code. This was one of our troublemakers, I think. No, because that was the ACH payment. Anyways, that was a deposit for one of the expedition trips. So the XE is how we know it's for the expedition trips. And then we'll dig into item codes a little later. Again, athletics, their item code starts with ATH so that we can tie it back to them. And then, yeah, so, and then pay, that is generally if a student's paying more than what their charges are for a semester, you'll see pay there. So, but probably not something you guys need to worry about too much. And then the payment code should all start with P. So PCAC is just an ACH payment. P5AW is an online 529. PCSH, that's cash. P529 check is a check. P-check imaging, that's when we take an image of the check, and that's what those are. And PWCC is a credit card payment. And then the dollar amount is pretty obvious there. So the search feature is pretty robust and really helpful. And then what's nice is if you hit these little binoculars, you can search for, like, this will show you all the different kinds of payment codes. So if you know that it's a wire payment, unfortunately you can't select multiple ones, but you can see, like, okay, these are all my wire payment types. So then you can search through those, or you can see the check ones, or whatever the case may be. But that's a way that you can search. And then you can do this, but you've got to enter like a part of the customer code. So like if we know that athletics is one, so if we were to search that, then it's going to show me all my customers who have ATH in their name. So that could get a little dicey trying to look things up that way, depending on how much information you have to go off of. But here you can see athletic tickets as one of the customers. So that's transactions. Like I said, that's kind of hit and miss, and you can play around with that, but usually a pretty good search tool in there. Something else, just I'll show you very briefly, are the reports. And there's a ton of different reports, because I think once a report's written, we've never deleted it. Typically we use in the morning balancing reports, and it just shows all the transactions from the previous day. But what's also nice about these is, let's say you want to see all the ACH payments. We've got the default set, so it just shows us the prior business day. But you can, for instance, if you want to see everything that's happened in July thus far, you can change your date range here. You can refresh, and this may take a minute because it's a lot of data. But now this is showing you all the ACH payments from 7/1 to 7/31. And what's nice about this is you can then export it. Oh, we need to select our format. And so you can export it into an Excel file, Word document, a PDF, whatever you want. And then you can export that file. And so you can do with it whatever you need. So I'm not going to save this, but just wanted to show you that you have that option, and that's in reports. And so if we go back to reports, there's all kinds of reports in here. So I don't know, maybe it's worth browsing through here if you guys find something that's helpful to you. I'm not sure, but and then we're able to write reports too. So if you let us know if there's something where you want to try to capture information in CASHNet, we can see if there's a report already available, or if we can write a report that's somewhat helpful for you. So that's reporting. And then the last thing I'll show you here is in system setup, and it is item codes. So what an item code is, it's essentially everything that's bought, or anything that's sold on like an e-market, or every semester since we've implemented CASHNet, or every item that a department can do a departmental deposit to has an item code. So there's a description, and then behind that there's a FOAP. So this displays by page. So this is going to show you like all the term codes. Then here's admissions. So we try to use a nomenclature where we can tell who a specific item code belongs to. So these are all admissions ones. So ADM, and the DEP is deposit. So you see all these deposit item codes. And then we've got like ALU, that's for alumni. So whenever alumni does different programs, they have all their different item codes. So this is just the first 100. We can come up here and to display all records, click show all, and then I'll ask you, do you really want to show them all? Because some schools may have thousands and it'll take a while to load. But here you can see, if you scroll all the way down, you can see all the different item codes we have. We've got 878. And so, like, for instance, these down here are for XLC. All these ones that are XE are Xavier Expedition deposits. WCB is the Williams College of Business. Summer housing. So the reason I'm showing this to you is, let's say for some reason we've come across, or you've searched in Find Transactions and something came up for Summer Conference -B, and you want more information about that. What you can do is you can hit select here, and what this shows you is, again, the item code, a quick description about what this item is for. But what may be most helpful for you is it shows you the FOP that it either posted to or should post to, or whatever the case may be. So that's all listed in here. And then this is all stuff that people see on the e-market side. So like when they check out, or the descriptions and things like that, like this is the text that goes on their receipt that they get. And you can click through here and there's different things. Most of this won't be anything that you need to worry about. I would just say on that main page, there's the FOP information. And what's nice about this is, let's say you're trying to go through all the summer conference items, instead of going back and forth, you can just click through them like this. So you can see here's Summer Conference D, and there's the FOP for it down here. And then we've got E, there's the FOP for it there, so on and so forth. And if you want to go back, you just hit list, and that takes you back to that list and kind of right where you left off. So again, just a list of all the different detail codes we have. A lot of these are in use, but of course, a lot of them are obsolete because we don't do business that way anymore, or just that item code that is not used anymore. So that's that. Let's scroll back to the top. And I think that's pretty much everything I want to show you guys. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's go back to system setup real quick. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else in here that is particularly helpful. But one other thing I want to show you, I guess, in Find Transactions is like going back to this departmental deposit, since we have this one, we'll click the transaction number so we can see it. Now, here it'll show you that the operator was Bellman E1. So that's Liz Bellman. She's the one who processed it and cashiered it. But if you want more information, you can click this here, and that's the deposit number, and that'll show you that Brett Sanders is the one who entered it into CASHNet. He entered it on April 11th, and this shows his remittance types here. So there was no cash, and it looks like he had $1,000 in checks. Now, it doesn't say if it was 1 check, 2 checks, 10 checks, whatever the case is. If you want more information about that, we can close this. And then what's nice here is where it shows you the payments tendered, you can view the image, and we can see that Mark and Susan Zink paid $1,000, and then they've even written the FOP here on the check. So a lot of times we'll capture the image of the check payments for departmental deposits unless there's a bunch of check payments. So like, for instance, the registrar's office, they'll bring us over $35 checks. We don't scan each one of those checks, but we do ensure that they've written on the checks the FOP, so that if they do get kicked back to us, we know what budget to hit. But we won't image all of those checks, just because after 9 line items, the deposits get kicked out of CASHNet, or they won't feed over to Banner because Banner can't read a 2-digit item being sent over. So that's why we got to keep it to 9 or less. So I'm running out of time here, but I think that will be helpful, hopefully, in the long run, and maybe making your guys' lives a little easier. So obviously, if you have questions about this or get locked out or anything like that, just let me know, and I'm happy to walk you through anything else. All right, hope this helps. Thanks.